Fayol developed these 14 principles of management, which in combination with other theories of management has shaped management into the way we understand it today. According to Wikipedia, Fayolism is defined as a theory of management that analyzes the role of management in organizations. Named after Henri Fayol, 1841 to 1925, a French mining engineer. His theory basically focused on supposed responsibilities of managers to ensure that all concerned are taken care of. No misunderstanding should occur between management and the general workforce. He believed that this would make the organization run more efficiently. Where Taylor was the father of scientific management, Fayol was the father of modern management and administrative management. Fayol differed from Taylor in one very specific way. Taylor ignored the human aspect of the workforce, treating workers as if they were machines, where Fayol did not. The 14 principles of management are as follows. 1. Division of work. 2. Authority and responsibility. 3. Discipline. 4. Unity of command. 5. Unity of direction. 6. Subordination of individual interests. 7. Remuneration. 8. The degree of centralization or decentralization. 9. Scalar chain. 10. Order. 11. Equity. 12. Stability of tenure of personnel. 13. Initiative. And 14. Esprit de corps. The principle of division of work suggests that work should be subdivided into smaller parts, with each part of the work being assigned to those who have the speciality, strengths within that given task, or training and experience for that task. This principle has led to specialization in fields of study, such as payroll, human resources and compliance, loss prevention, and so on. Specialization and dividing up the work into its given subject groups helps reduce wasted time, efforts, and material, as well as reducing the risk of not getting the work done by a given date. Authority and responsibility is the principle by which managers delegate responsibility to employees to complete a specific task and give authority needed to complete the task. An important note to make is that responsibility for those tasks must be accepted and acceptable by the employee, otherwise those tasks are less likely to be completed. Authority comes with two factors. Official, the kind of authority given by the boss, and personal, the kind of authority that arises from the qualities of the individual, such as intelligence, experience, moral worth, and past service. Giving authority without responsibility results in irresponsible behavior. Likewise, giving responsibility without giving authority will make the employee ineffective. Therefore, both authority and responsibility must be given together. The third principle is discipline. Discipline is described as obedience, application, energy, behavior, and respect shown by employees. There are two types of discipline. 1. Self-imposed discipline, which comes from within the individual. You might not want to get up when your alarm goes off, but you do so anyway out of self-discipline. 2. Command discipline, which comes from authority in ways of rules, regulations, policies, and customs of the company or organization. All personnel should have some form of discipline, otherwise we would just be doing whatever we wanted, whenever we wanted, and goals would not be getting met. Unity of command means that employees should get orders or instructions from only one supervisor or manager. Usually, individuals cannot serve two bosses at the same time. When an employee must answer to several bosses, instructions may conflict with each other and result in a high degree of confusion, misunderstandings, and conflicts. Unity of direction means something different than unity of command. Unity of direction means that everyone in the organization shares the same objectives. There might be several departments in an organization, and each of those departments has a set of plans. However, all of the departments in the end are working towards the same larger goal. All departments coordinate together, doing their part to fulfill the organization's bigger goals. Subordination of interests are subordinate to the interest of the organization. The primary focus is on the organizational objectives and not on those of the individual. This applies to all levels of the organization, including the managers. If individuals and organizational interests are different, then managers must try to reconcile them. If not, then an individual's interest should be sacrificed. Factors like laziness, ambition, selfishness, carelessness, etc., these tend to reduce the organizational's interest. So basically, subordination of interests it means that individuals set aside their differences to work together to meet the organizational goals. Or you might be interested in spending time doing something other than work while you're at work, but you set that aside while you're at work to complete the tasks for which the company has hired you to do. You might dislike working with another coworker, but you set aside that dislike or disinterest in your coworker and work as a team to complete the daily work or goals of the job. Remuneration refers to the compensation for your work. It doesn't really matter what that compensation is. However, generally, when we speak of compensation for work, we think of the paycheck. Compensation should be fair, reasonable, and acceptable to both the employee and the organization. Compensation should keep the employee motivated. When an employee is dissatisfied with their compensation for their work, it usually leads to a higher turnover. Remuneration can be monetary, such as the paycheck, or it can also include things like vacation time, sick time, 401k matching, healthcare plans or benefits, employee discounts, or other forms of non-monetary compensation. Centralization and decentralization depends on the hierarchy and size of an organization. In organizations where there is normally a single proprietor or a very small workforce involved, you are likely to see more centralization than in larger companies. In smaller companies, the owner might be the one doing the payroll, the inventory, the bookkeeping, the schedules. But in larger organizations, there is there may be a department for payroll, a human resources office, a bookkeeper specifically just for the bookkeeping, or some of these things might be outsourced, which is decentralization. Centralization implies the concentration of decision-making power, and that's saying that's with the smaller companies is mainly at the top of management level, i.e. the owner. Whereas decentralized companies, the middle management and lower management may have a greater degree of decision-making authority because all of the authority is not centralized, it is decentralized. Scalar chain is the formal line of authority which moves from the highest to the lowest rank in a straight line. Having a clear line of communication is very important for any organization to achieve its objectives. This principle revolves around the flow of communication from management to the lowest in the company. It is a chain of all supervisors from the top to the bottom, for the very bottom rank of personnel. A clear line of communication is very important. A scalar chain identifies that path. This is to avoid any ambiguity. This chain of command is important to avoid chaos. It allows employees to know whom to approach when faced with a problem. It allows the top management to communicate their messages to the entire organization, and for supervisors at each level to become responsible to execute that order. A proper chain of command allows businesses to run smoothly, but it can also become inflexible or make the business inflexible at times. So, under certain circumstances, for the benefit of the organization, this scalar method is given up to what is known as gangplanking method or gangplank method, which allows a horizontal communication. This is a communication that is interdepartmental or communication between personnel. Fayol explains this form of communication in a way by saying if you have A as a head and A has two subordinates, which are B and L, and B has a subordinate, which is C and D, and so on. L has subordinates M and N, and so on. But if F needs to communicate with P, instead of communicating all the way up the chain back to A in the scalar method, gangplanking allows them to communicate, allows F to communicate directly with P in the company interest to save time and money. So sometimes gangplanking is necessary in order to make communication smoother. The 10th principle is order. This principle relates to the arrangement of things and people. There should be a place for everything, and everything should be in its place. Likewise, the right employees should be in the right positions. The bigger the organization, the more difficult the order. To elaborate on this, just to say that as humans, we crave a certain sort of order to our lives. Organizations promote this order and for the smooth flow of operations. When you arrive at work, you do certain things in a certain order. You have a certain place for your equipment or a specific place that you work in. You might work in a specific department. And why is this? Well, it's so that employees in the organization know what to expect, know where to find things, they know how to do their job, whatever the task may be. This means that having the right employee in the right position is important. For example, you wouldn't put somebody in who wasn't trained in dispensing medicine in the pharmacy. And again, as the company becomes larger, that organizational order becomes a little more complicated. There are more things that have to be placed in their place, or more staff that have a specific route that they are routed to for their jobs. 11 is equity. Employees should be treated kindly and equally. The idea is that the treatment and behavior should be fair and impartial for everyone. It brings loyalty to the organization, and its application requires good sense, experience, and good nature. The reason why we want to create equality between all of our employees is because it does bring about loyalty to the company. Everything such as pay, people want to be paid equally, they want to be paid fairly, they don't want to have their income or their treatment be based on their personal beliefs, their religion, their color of skin, etc. And this requires good sense and good common sense and a good nature from management, from the organization, and from other employees. Number 12 is stability of tenure of personnel. And I felt that this was a very important principle. This principle represents development and management of personnel and suggests that it should take in account the service that is provided from the organization. Management should strive to minimize employee turnover and have the right staff in the right places. It focuses on frequent change, or rather preventing frequent change in positions and adequate development. It also has states that there should be a reasonable job security. Stability of tenure of personnel principle says that in order for an organization to run smoothly, personnel attrition, which is turnover, must be low. Upper management must take steps to ensure that the organization is or has as much stability in management and personnel as possible. Change in personnel is both expensive and time-consuming. When the workforce and/or management is frequently changing, new staff has to be hired to replace them. These new staff members must be trained and educated about the organization and their role in it. This needs to become, they need time to become accustomed to the principles, the policies, and the culture of the organization. Additionally, their productivity and their efficiency and effectiveness will be less than the employees that they have replaced. Just because they don't have that experience, they don't have that comfort zone, and they are not used to the company's principles and policies yet. This costs the organization time and money that it could be spending elsewhere. There are also risks that some of the knowledge and information that is stored in the memories of the employees that they have replaced, that information will be lost to the organization. This is the reason why management must attempt to reduce employee turnover. To do this, management also needs to focus on placing the right employees in the open positions. They need to provide fair and competitive employment packages, providing incentives for employees to stay, facilitating employees' initiative and creativity, creating job satisfaction. Those things create job satisfaction. Management should also provide a reasonable job security. Initiative kind of ties into the previous principle of stability, and I mentioned initiative in that slide because initiative is the principle that management encourages the input of employees. When an employee is encouraged to express their interests, their ideas, it increases their interest in and involvement with the company. And for that, this adds value to the company. It adds job satisfaction for the employee. It when an employee's initiative should be the source of strength for a company. Esprit de corps relates to the unity of employees. It's group cohesion and employee morale. When communication flows freely among employees and management, this contributes to teamwork. That teamwork, it reaches, is used to reach mutual goals, and it creates mutual trust. This creates more employee satisfaction in their jobs. It creates loyalty to the company. It creates a healthy work environment that employees want to go to every day, instead of a place that they just come and go through the motions. In summary, Henri Fayol's theory of management is only one of many that are often used in combination by managers today to organize their companies and lead or manage its employees. A study of the various theories and how they play a part in leadership is a good place to start when learning the principles of management and understanding management styles and processes. Even unsuccessful management theories give us something to think about and provide a certain degree of knowledge when it comes to fulfilling the functions of management.